Alright guys, so we are back with another video. I know it's been a long winter. Season's coming up, car's going to be coming out soon. And I got some new suspension mods that I want to do. So last year when I did all the suspension stuff and brakes in the car, if you remember, I did the Volk rear control arms. Well, I also bought the Volk rear tow arms, but they ended up coming like a day or two after I took the car for alignment last year. So I just figured I'll just hold on to them until I need another alignment or I do some more work under the car. So I'm actually going to be also switching out the springs on the coilovers. They're different spring rate. Hopefully help me with autocross. So I'm going to be putting in the toe arms and the springs, and then we'll get an alignment. So that will be our little suspension upgrades. Last night I did get all 4 coilovers pulled out of the car. I did not film any of it, just wanted to get it done. You can check my suspension video from last year if you're unsure of how to go about taking them out. So I got those all out. I went down to Milwaukee this morning to Endless Performance and I picked up my brand new Swift springs, so we will unbox those now. All right, so here's what we got. So here we got our new springs and the other ones. So here we got the 10K. Here we got the 12K. I will get the coilovers up over here and we will get those swapped out right now. Also, this Impact I have had for like 15 years the other day. It worked perfectly fine. I did a brake job. Now, nothing. So, I went to Home Depot this morning and did some shopping. So, just picked up this brand new Milwaukee for me. 1/2 inch mid torque, and then I also picked up a new drill just because my Craftsman, I have a lot of other Milwaukee stuff, just want to keep it all the same. So battery, hell yeah. Looks like there's all different settings here. Gotta love new toys, right? Didn't really want to spend the money on new ones, but I needed it. Hopefully this one will last me a lifetime. Alright, so here you got your coilover. You got your little adjustment nut right here. It's a 2mm. Take Allen, loosen it up, pop this up. There's going to be a little O-ring. Take that off. Next step, this is going to be a 21mm nut. We'll just take this. And there's your nut. And then you'll take this off. Set that aside. You have your bearing here with this insulator piece. Set that aside, and now you can take your spring off. Put that back on. So if you were to service this whole coilover, you know, you could take all this down, all these collars, you could take them all off. You could service all this, but it's looking good. So put that back on. So now here is the 10K that I bought. Here's the 11K that was on there. I don't know. I still can't tell if this is I don't know. They seem, I don't know. They seem the same. They both say 100. I'm just gonna go ahead and put the brand new one on. But yeah, here's definitely the 12K. So this one here will definitely be for the rear. But back to the front. You just put this little insulator back on. Put this bearing back in. You put your top hat back on. You got this back in. And I couldn't find any like torque specs online, but from the Fortune Autos video, they pretty much just give it 2 ooga-doogas, so that's what we're gonna give it. So that's what we're gonna do. Now you're gonna put your O-ring back on. You're going to put your adjustment knob back on. And you can tighten this up. And you're back to your clicks. And that is your new spring on your coilover. Super fast, easy guys, do it at home. That's the nice thing about coilovers. There is only about 1/4 inch or half inch, I forgot exactly what it is. But whatever, when you get this, you have to set the preload on this bottom collar up. And there's not much tension on the spring. So it's not like a factory strut or whatever, where there's so much tension where you gotta compress the spring before you do this. Because if you do this, on a normal one, you're going to wreck yourself if you don't have the proper tools to do it. But like you saw, I can just took that off. It came up just ever so slightly. That's all we needed. So this one will be ready to go back in the car. I'm just going to go ahead and do the other 3. Alright, so now with the Volk Metalcraft rear lower toe arms, we are going to be greasing the ball joint boots. I had bought this grease gun just from AutoZone, just a cheap one, because I'll be greasing them once a year. And this tip here is absolutely garbage. I kept trying it and it kept just coming out around the nipple. I couldn't get a real tight fit on it. So he had recommended to try this right here. So I am going to take this out. Should be able to just screw it on here. We're going to get these ball joints greased and then get them back in the car. Hell yeah. That works super easy. No mess. Perfect. Thanks, Paul. All right, so now we are on the rear passenger side. We're going to take off this tow arm. This bottom nut here is going to be a 22 millimeter. Just bought it, let's use it, right? There you go, nuts off. Now, if this doesn't pop off, which it probably won't because it's really in there, you're going to need to rent a ball joint separator. I rented it from AutoZone. You basically pay for it, and when you return it, you get your money back. So basically, you just got to put it, actually, I'm going to screw this nut on just a little bit, just so I don't ruin the threads. You put that there, and then when you screw this down, it'll pop it up. There's also like the pickle fork one you can use, but I found that those tend to rip those boots, and this one does not. So then you just have to, oh. So that went real easy. Sometimes they like explode apart. So I did have these off last year. That's probably why they weren't really in there. But if you have never taken these off before, it will pop very loud. It might even shoot off. So just be mindful of that. But there we go. That's off. Now we'll work on getting it in the back. All right, so this nut right here is going to be a 19 millimeter, and the head on the other side is going to be a 17. All right, loosen that up. And this arm is out. All right, now we're just gonna go right away. Put this Volk tow arm in. You can always use a screwdriver to try and get it lined up better. Okay, it's through that way. I don't think it matters which way you put this in. I always just personally prefer to put the nuts towards the back, just so when you're driving, stuff underneath the car can't, I don't know, potentially loosen it up, or just, I don't know, maybe less, more protection from water, dirt, grime, all that stuff. I don't know if my thought process is right on that, but that's what I do. When you got the Volk tow arms, same way even with the lower control arms, this factory bolt setup that is how you would normally adjust your toe, that no longer matters because you can adjust your toe within the bar, within the heim joints and everything. It has its own adjustments, but you can always still use this factory bolt, and it's suggested to use it just to tighten it down. All right, now I'm just gonna put this down in there. It comes with its own washer and nut. And it's like a castle nut, and there's a hole in here, so you can throw a cotter pin in it. All right, I can throw my cotter pin in. And then you can tighten up the cotter pin here. There we go. All right, now I'm gonna work on putting the coilover back in. I can just take this bolt back out. All right, that's the hardest part. Get the coilover, the bolt holes lined up in the top of the rear quarter panel. And then now you can just lift this up, put your last bolt in, and then you can do the nuts. And these bolts and nuts are both 17 millimeters. Now you're going to come back up top, going to put the nuts on. These are 14 millimeter nuts. Using a deep well 14. All right. All right, now we can put the front coilover in. Just gonna put the top nuts on first. All right, so I got the coilover buttoned up. I had to loosen up the strut bar a little bit, just so because the strut bar is in line with the top 3 studs there on the coilover. All right, so now gotta get these 2 coilover to the knuckle bolted in. I gotta try and lift this in place. All right. Get the bottom one in. All right, so all the suspension is back on. I got the coilovers on. I got the rear toe arms in. So all that is done. Those were my suspension mods. Next week, I do have an alignment. Gonna get the car aligned. Obviously, you take off suspension stuff, you get it aligned. Yeah, I'm excited to get back out on track, see if the car rotates a little bit better, because that was my whole thing. The car was kind of understeering into turns. It was just kind of like pushing. Wasn't a fan, just felt slow. So I'm hoping with the upgraded 12K rear springs and the 10K front springs, you know, it'll help rotate the car more because the rear will be more stiff. The toe arms, that was just like a little upgrade. I think I forgot to mention this earlier, but the factory toe arms actually are known to crack. I'll put a little picture right here. They're actually known to crack, and I road tripped the car a lot. So that was just one thing I don't want to have to worry about if I'm on the road. So those kind of like a preventive maintenance, and you just have a lot more adjustability in them. So why not? So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this little video. Thanks for watching, guys.